So I have to measure force by two quantities. That is why force is also known as the derived quantity. So the easiest way to remember how to work out whether it is a derived quantity or a fundamental, if you remember fundamental, like 7 fundamental, if you remember 7 fundamental, so any quantity other than these 7 are always derived quantity. So if I give an example, we have to sort out these quantities as fundamental and derived. So example, mass. Fundamental or derived? Mass of an object. So mass is a fundamental, the basic. So mass will be here. Length. So length is also fundamental. But how we know it's a fundamental or a derived? So I told, if you remember 7 fundamental quantities, any quantity other than those 7 are known as a derived quantity. So what you have to do, you have to just remember the 7 fundamental. So if you remember these 7, any quantity other than these 7 will be refers to the derived one. Energy, derived or fundamental? So energy will be derived. Acceleration, derived or fundamental? Acceleration. So
Drive.
acceleration. So acceleration is a derived quantity because the 7 fundamental quantities are length, mass, time, temperature, amount of substance, and light intensity. What about pressure? Fundamental or derived? You can use your mic as well. It's up to you. What you find it easy, convenient, you can use that. Yes, Abdullah.
Derived.
So that is derived. So same thing, same way. Like example, if I say temperature, so what is temperature? Fundamental or derived? So temperature is a fundamental quantity, so it will be in this column. So is it clear, the concept of the fundamental and the derived quantity? So you should be able to distinguish that which is the fundamental and which one is a derived. Then being a science student or being a physics student, there are certain things which you have to memorize or learn, and one of them is the prefixes. Basically, or the standard forms, because in exam some of the questions they use certain prefixes, certain numbers, or certain forms instead of writing the complete number. Example, Example, in the question it is written the time is 30 nanosecond. So how you understand what is the meaning of this nano? So for this one, for this purpose, what you have to do, you have to learn the prefixes, and these are the prefixes we normally use. So what is the meaning of a nano? Nano means it is 10 power minus 9. As you can see here, if it is written nano, what is the meaning of a nano? You can write 0.000 till 1, or you can write 10 power minus 9. So actually, when we write the complete answer, if it is written time is 30 nanosecond, so what does it mean? It means the time is equals to 30 into nano means 10 power minus 9. So 30 into 10 power minus 9 second. So that is the actual value of the time. So you have to understand that these terms, because most of the question in numericals you will find instead of giving the numbers directly, they normally use the prefixes. So what are the prefixes normally they use? It can be t, and instead of writing full, they use these letters. If it is t, it means tera, T-E-R-A. If it is capital G, it means it is giga. If it is capital M, it means it is mega. Capital K, it means kilo. Same thing, if it is small p, it means pico. Small n means nano. This is a Greek alphabet like a U, that is called mu. This is a Greek alphabet which we call a mu. So if it is mu is there, it is called micro. And if a small m is there, it means it is milli. And what are the meanings? Tera means it is 10 power 12. Giga means 10 power 9. Mega means 10 power 6. Kilo means 10 power 3. So all the positive powers like positive 12, plus 12, plus 9, plus 6 and plus 3, we use capital letters. And if it is small letters like pico is there, it means it is 10 power minus 12. Nano 10 power minus 9, micro 10 power minus 6, and milli 10 power minus 3. So these are the scientific notations we normally use when a question is there. So if I say the temperature is 30 or time is 50 ms. So what this m stands for, this s is a unit. And what is the meaning of this milli? This small m, it means milli, and that is a prefix. And what prefix we use if milli is there? So small m means milli, it means 10 power minus 3. So actually the time is 50 into 10 power minus 3 second. And this, when you substitute the value of the time in your numericals, so it should be 50 into 10 power minus 3. And how to substitute exponent minus 3? As most of you are using scientific calculators, so on your scientific calculator, there is a button. Some of the calculator, it is written EXP, capital E, XP, some of the calculators, or some of the calculators, it is written 10 power. So yes, you can use a calculator in exam. The scientific calculators are allowed. So whenever you're doing the exam, you're allowed to use a scientific calculator. So you will use scientific calculator. Like here, so when I substitute, like example, the last question, it was 50 millisecond. So how in on scientific calculator, how I will write 50 millisecond? So this is 50. Then exponent exp, and milli was there. Milli means -3, so I will write -3. And then I press equal to. So actually 50 millisecond is equals to 0.05. Yes, scientific calculators are different from normal calculator. Scientific calculators have more functions, more different mathematical functions can be performed in a scientific calculator as compared to normal calculator. Is it clear how you will use a simple scientific calculator? Because in exam, when you're substituting a value, I'll give another example. If it is written, the mass is 70 capital M means mega kg, or small m I'm using, it means milligram. So mass is 70 milligram, but when I substitute the values, I should remove the prefix. I should not use milli here. Only the unit should be there. Gram is a unit and m is a prefix. So 70, and this m, what it stands for? Small m stands for 10 power minus 3. So I will write 70 into 10 power minus 3 grams. But when I substitute this in a scientific calculator, how I'll substitute? So it is 70, then exponent, some of the calculator it is written exp, some of the calculator is written 10 power. So 70 exponent, and that was minus 3. So that is equivalent to 0.07. Is it clear to everyone? So you have to learn these prefixes. If it is tera, it means 10 power 12. If it is giga, it means 10 power 9. If it is mega, 10 power 6. Yes, Saim, what's your question? Kilo, 10 power 3. These are extra deci and centi. Milli is there, 10 power minus 3. Micro, 10 power minus 6. Nano, 10 power minus 9. And pico, 10 power minus 12. Yes, Saim Ahmed, what's your question? You can use a mic if you are finding difficult to type.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, for example, if you're asking the value or quantity of tera, so sir, can we decide from standard form and value both, or like we both have to both
No,
are
no.
important?
For example, if it is tera and you just write in a standard form, that is also correct. It's not necessary you convert the
Okay.
final number. Like if it is written, like normally memories are there like GB, like 60 GB,
Yes.
gigabytes. So
Yes.
basically
Yes.
byte is a unit. Giga means what? Giga means 10 power 9. So you can write 16 to 10 power 9b. So that is also
Okay,
correct.
sir.
And on your, you don't have to further convert this into normal number. Even if you use this value, that is also right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Abdullah.
So what if the unit is not in the SI unit? Do we have to convert it to
Yes,
SI
then we have
unit?
to convert. Like example, in this example, when we are getting the answer in gram. After getting this answer in gram, then we will convert into kilogram, the SI unit. So we have to convert the units in SI. Is it clear, Abdullah? So for us,
Yes, sir.
if we want to measure the length, the learning objective first, like when you are studying this topic, what is the learning objective? Use and describe the use of rules here and measuring cylinders to find the length. Here the rule is not refers to like certain rule or law, it is refers to a scale. So you should be use and describe the use of ruler or a scale and measuring as well as the formulas which are related to measuring the length and volume, and understand the micrometer, screw gauge, and use to measure very small distances. So in this session we will discuss how we can measure the length by using different apparatus, and the volume, and how we can use a micrometer. So first thing, what you should know the least count, the smallest value which these instrument can record. A ruler, a scale, normal scale, what you are using, what is the smallest value? If you have a scale right now, what is the smallest value on your scale you see? Not zero. Zero is not, like you cannot define zero. After zero, what is the first line represent on your ruler or a scale? The first line representing what? Which number? 0.1. So basically, because yeah, 0.1 and either centimeter or millimeter. The normally you're using your scale, yeah, it's in centimeter. Your scale can measure in millimeter as well as in centimeter, but the smallest value which your ruler or a scale can measure, that is 0.1 centimeter. Or if I convert centimeter into millimeter, that is 1 millimeter, because we multi to convert the centimeter into millimeter, we multiply by 10. So if your scale smallest value, your scale can measure 0.1 centimeter. If you I multiply by 10, it can measure 1 millimeter. So the smallest value which a ruler or a scale can measure, that is 0.1. A Vernier caliper, this is also a measuring instrument, but you will not study this Vernier caliper, as it was not, it was part of the syllabus before 2016, but 2017 onward, 16 onward, it's not there in the syllabus. But this you should know, as a student you should know that the smallest value which a Vernier caliper can measure is 0.01 centimeter or zero point 0.1 millimeter. And the micrometer screw gauge that we will discuss in detail, that can measure up to 0.001 centimeter or 0.01 millimeter. My question is that which instrument is the most accurate here? By looking at their smallest value, which instrument or which apparatus is the most accurate here, and why? So which instrument or apparatus is the most accurate? So the most accurate is a micrometer. Because why micrometer is the most accurate? Because it can measure a very small quantity. So if your apparatus or instrument can measure a small quantity, that is considered to be the most accurate instrument. So if I have two apparatus, one of the apparatus can measure 0.02. Another apparatus can measure 0.1. Which apparatus is more accurate? A or B? A can measure 0.02 centimeter and B can measure 0.1 centimeter. Which apparatus is more accurate here? Both are in centimeters. So the correct answer is A, because A can measure a very small quantity which is 0.02 as compared to B, which can only measure 0.1 centimeter. Less than a minute left, so I'll continue the discussion, share another link and continue the discussion.